You didn't have me sign a contract, so I don't owe you anything. That's business. That's what he said. So just this last week, for the first time ever in 10 years, I was totally straight up dissed by someone that we did work for who said there was no way they were going to pay their bill because we did not have a formal contract. Let me back up a little bit and explain the scenario a little bit. I'm not going to say any names, and this is not legal advice for anybody. I'm just sharing my story because up until this point, I've been kind of a handshake guy. You know, you meet somebody, you build some rapport, you hear about their project, you tell them what you do, you figure out a way to work together, there's some sort of proposal exchanged, it's agreed upon, and you move forward. You know, I always think of marketing and content creation a little bit like a restaurant. You know, we take a lot of risk up front, just like a restaurant does. So if you go to a nice restaurant for dinner and you order a steak and dessert and drinks and all this stuff, you know, you enjoy your meal. If there's a problem with it or a revision to it, you let the waiter or waitress know, like it's taken care of, and at the end of the meal, you are expected to pay the check. So that restaurant is taking all the money they're paying their chefs and their wait staff and all the money they spent on product to cook for you. All of that is risk up front, counting on the fact that you're going to pay for it after the fact. And that's kind of how we work too. You know, generally we meet, we talk, we learn about each other, we figure out what the problems are, we start to put solutions together, and more often than not, we jump into work right away. Usually we send out a proposal, we send out an invoice for 50% down. My bad for not being formulaic, my bad for not being hard-edged with a contract and all that sort of stuff. So basically, in our situation, what happened was this gentleman came to hear about us online. He called us, messaged us, came to our office. He had a company that needed some help with a trade show video. This is a very small project, so this is another reason I'm caught off guard a little bit. He wanted a DVD digitized and made some edits to and then kicked out onto a flash drive. So we're looking at a few hours worth of work. We chatted. He told me exactly what he wanted to do. He said, please start on it. I sent him a few different pricing options. He picked which package he wanted to go with via email. And my team jumped in, did the project, delivered it to him. Upon receiving that first edit, he noticed a couple things he failed to mention to tell us, so we made another round of edits even, then sent him the finished product just on Google Drive. It was just, again, a 10-minute video, something like that. So when I sent him the bill and said, hey, this would be great, please pay this, he said, I'm going to run it by my boss, I'll let you know. Great. 2 days later, he says, we're not paying your bill. And I said, okay, great, why, what's going on? And he said, well, I found somebody else to do it, and they were only going to charge me half of what you charged me. So I tried to explain a little bit about how this worked. You know, we're talking in this project's sphere, we're talking about like $100 project. So we're not talking like a $10,000 deal or any multifaceted project that was going on for these guys. But still, it was sort of about principle for me. And I tried to explain, you know, we've already put in X number of hours of work. We've already handed you 2 deliverables. So we have done work for you. And if you found somebody else that's less expensive, then you're going to pay them as well. That's great, but you do owe us for our time, energy, and the fact that we met with you for an hour about this already as well. So we went back and forth, and the bottom line was he crossed his arms and says, I'm not going to pay. And so then I'm at a crossroads, right? And hopefully for many people watching this, this is not sounding familiar. Hopefully you either have a great contract system that moves everything into place. His big argument at the end of our email exchange was, you didn't have me sign a contract, so I don't owe you anything. That's business. That's what he said. And so, you know, again, hopefully you're not going, oh, that sounds familiar. Hopefully you're just like, whoa, there's people like that exist that have absolutely no honor out there. It's true, they do. And luckily in our case, it was a $125 project. So I'm exploring what are the next steps, right? One thing that I've been looking into is what defines a contract, right? I started Googling it, of course. I happen to have some really good attorneys in my, on my bench and in my life personally. And I just started exploring that idea. What is a contract? And based on my research, again, this isn't legal advice, do your own research, talk to qualified legal authorities out there, but basically anywhere that you can prove that there's an agreement between two people for a project or a service or an item that you're buying, that could be written on a napkin, that could be spoken about it amongst a group of people that were there to witness it. And in my case, our contract is a explicit series of emails, all the way from the beginning of, hey, will you meet with me? Yes, I'll meet with you. Hey, thanks for meeting with me. Based on what we talked about, here are the 3 packages that we can do. We have a $100, a $200, and a $300 options for how we can make this happen. Response: yes, I'd like to go with option 1. Okay, great. I'm going to start on that, and I'll send you a link when I have something ready to go. Hey, I got your link. Can you make this extra change? Sure. Here's the update. Okay, great. Let me talk to my boss. That was the email exchange. That shows clear intent that that person wanted my company to do work for them. And even to the fact that not only did they have us do the initial work, they asked us for a round of revisions and so forth. So this could have been cleared up in a couple ways, I think. A, if the client would have done his homework and looked for different options, maybe he would have found a less expensive option and could have chosen that right out of the gate. But he didn't. He had us starting work immediately. The other option is I could have had a contract for that. I could have made him sign something for a $125 project, but I don't like that. and this might be dumb, and you might be sitting there going, well, you get what you deserve. You don't have a big contract for everybody to sign. And man, I really wrestle with that because I am a handshake person. I just want to meet you, hear about your business. I want this to be honorable. I want us to stick to what we say we're going to do and just move forward. Clearly, that's not how some people see it. They think they can trick you or skirt the system by saying you didn't have me sign a contract. But I don't think I'm changing. What are you thinking right now? Because you might think I'm nuts. You might think, oh, that's how I do business as well. Thanks for the heads up. Tell me a little bit about what you think in the comments, or if you've heard other stories. I'd love to hear them because they're going to protect all of us. Looking into small claims court, I totally would encourage everybody to do that, just so you understand what all is involved in that process. There's statutes of limitation to consider. So again, if somebody just takes your product, your service, whatever, and takes off with it and says they're not paying you, you have X number of years or months to actually pursue something in small claims court. And every small claims court, as far as I understand, is a little bit different. So it's state by state, as far as I understand. Luckily, I have plenty of time to pursue small claims court with our statute of limitations here in Indiana, and we'll see how it all turns out. Seems like a lot of hassle for $100 either way. I thought about just throwing in the towel, but I don't know. I would just prefer to get paid for what my team did to help this guy's business out. So anyway, please tell me what you think. Have you had an experience like this without throwing anybody under the bus? Or maybe if you want to, I guess that's your choice. But let me know what you think, and let me know if you think that I'm nuts and I should have a contract, or I should just continue with trusting humanity, having a handshake, and also having very clear, explicit emails that highlight this whole relationship. I look forward to hearing your thoughts.